Every single one of my YieldMax weekly paying dividend ETFs is now in the green. Every single one. This is crazy. I have not seen this for a very long time, and I am really excited to jump into all of the details in this video. For those that don't know, I invest $100 into every single weekly dividend ETF, and I track the progress. I track NAV erosion, price appreciation, and the total distributions paid out so that you guys can see exactly which ones are making investors the most money. My name is Spencer. I run the channel Spencer Invests, and I love investing. Of course, I track all things ETFs, income, stock market. So if you are interested in learning more and making more money in the stock market, you are in the right place. Let's learn and grow our portfolios together. But first, don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss out on the free information. Let's roll that intro. Starting off with CHPY, the YieldMax Semiconductor Portfolio Option Income ETF. Now, I'm looking for some key components here. One, the AUM, and two, the dividend yield. AUM stands for assets under management, and the dividend yield is the trailing 12 months yield. This is calculated by taking all of the dividends over the last 12 months and factoring that into the distribution rate, meaning if you haven't seen a full year of distributions paid from these ETFs, it will be lower. It's skewed. And that is the case with CHPY. It says the yield is about 8.08%. In actuality, it's probably well into the 40s, if not 50s. Now, we can also see I'm positive on this one, which I'm very happy about. I love when they go up and I get some distributions. But let's talk about the last couple of dividends. Also, I use dividend and distribution synonymously. So just so you know, these are technically all distributions. We can see we had a 44.5-cent dividend, a 40-cent dividend, a 40.5-cent dividend, and a 37.5-cent dividend. Very solid from CHPY. This one did take quite a beating, but it is bouncing back nicely. It is one of my favorites in the portfolio, I will say, and I am debating buying some more of this because I love the semiconductor industry, and I think it has a bright future ahead. Now let's jump into our next weekly ETF. GPTY is the YieldMax AI and Tech Portfolio Option Income ETF. I'm very happy with the return of this one. It bounced from the lows of 33 up to 47, giving some nice price appreciation for those that averaged down. I wish I had put more into this, but I didn't. The AUM is consistently growing at 31.5 million, and a dividend yield of 13% correlates actually to one well over 40%. Last couple of distributions, we had 30 cents, we had 31 cents, we had 32 cents, and we had 31 cents once again. Consistent dividends, GPTY is one to watch if you are a fan of the AI sector. I also like that there's tech thrown in here, and you can also check out YieldMax.com for all of the actual synthetic holdings and holdings of these weekly ETFs. LFGY had a rough start, but the distributions have been crazy. We can see the AUM of 142.5 million and the dividend yield of just under 30%. And that's not even close. It's probably roughly 60 to 70%. The distributions are massive on this one. And we can see the last couple. We had 46.5 cents, 47 cents, 47 cents again, and then 48 cents. Some really high distributions. This may be the highest weekly payer, right behind PLTW by Roundhill, which will be coming out in a later episode this week for those that are interested. Now, I will say, when I look at the distributions on this page of Moomoo, I'm looking at the stock, and this is per share. At the end of the video, I showcase all the total returns in my dividend tracking spreadsheet, which should be available on SpencerInvest.com very soon for those that are interested for the template version, as well as a couple other versions for you guys that showcase all the data. But LFGY, this is per share. When I show it on the actual spreadsheet, it is going to be per investment, which most of these are roughly $100. Some I dripped, some have a little more. All of that is showcased on the spreadsheet, I will say. So LFGY bounced back. I like this one. I have very high hopes for it, but we need to see this growth continue and those high distributions to continue, which right now they are looking like they will. These next three are all direct competitors to Roundhill's first weekly paying dividend ETFs. These are the RDTE covered call strategy ETFs, and QDTE is on the NASDAQ 100. We can see low AUM under 9 million and a dividend yield of 11%. I will say this one has bounced back really nicely from my buy point. I initially bought some at their inception, and that was a mistake because it fell pretty crazily from $52 to $36. Now it is running back up, which I love to see. And the distributions have been relatively consistent. They're not super high, 23 cents, 26 cents, 23.5 cents. And this last one was really low, actually, at under 12 cents, which you don't love to see, but it all depends on the volatility of the market. So these next three, they're very similar. Let's jump into the next one. RDTY, the Russell 2000. This one I had high hopes for because the Russell 2000 is typically a higher volatility because it is small cap stocks, but they just haven't been performing that well. We did see this one bounce back nicely in the portfolio, but again, I didn't buy it at the very inception of the fund like I did with the one we're going to talk about next. But 5 million AUM, under 5 million, very small, and dividend yield 11%. Again, going to be up into the 30s and 40s at least. Last couple payments, 21 cents, 30 cents, 32.5 cents, and 20 cents. All sporadic, but relatively high income-wise. SDTY. I purchased it in the 50 range and it fell terribly and has run back up. I will say I'm hoping it's into the green currently with distributions because our whole portfolio is now in the green. Love to say that. AUM 15.5 million, dividend yield 10%. It's a little bit of a lower yielder, but they've been okay. Nothing crazy, but nothing terrible either. Almost 22 cents, 22.5 cents, 22 cents, and this last one, 11 cents. Not great. I don't know what happened this last week, but implied volatility was not doing well. I do want to say, as a thank you to you guys, I created the weekly dividend ETF tracker. Now, this is also for me to keep track of when everything pays. I have to update it because we have some new weekly paying dividend ETFs that need to go in it, but by the time this video is up, hopefully it will be updated. It's available on spencerinvest.com. It's going to be a pop-up that asks you for your name and email. Make sure you're not a bot, and then you can download it on the website, right? So once you submit, you got to wait for it to say download here, and then you click it. It's not going to email you. I don't love the spam emails, so that's why I did it that way. But I hope you guys do enjoy. Again, it's completely free. Thank you so much for all the support for the channel. We're nearing 18,000 subscribers, which blows my mind. I want to keep growing, keep learning, and keep making money together in the stock market. So check this out again for free if you're interested. ULTY is one of the most talked about YieldMax ETFs currently. Look at the AUM, 633 million. People are loving this. It's almost 3x its AUM since converting from monthly to weekly. Dividend yield 132%. Last I checked, it was in the 80% range, 80%-ish. Absolutely crazy. We had a number of buys for this one, but before it went weekly, it was not doing too great. Last couple of payments, we had just under 10 cents, 9.5 cents, 9.5 cents, 8.75 cents, and just over 9 cents again. Now, I know that is low compared to a lot of the others, but look at the price. It is $6.22. If you guys don't know, I started a podcast with Marcos Mia, another very popular growth ETF YouTuber he's phenomenal. Check out his channel. I really, really have enjoyed speaking with him. We've been doing a bunch of fun stuff. We've been talking all about MSTY and ULTY on there. So I'll link it down below in the comments. Go check it out if you're interested. If you listen to podcasts, it's also on Apple and Spotify. So you should be able to find it anywhere. But let me know what you guys think. And again, I hope you guys are interested. But ULTY, wow. Very impressed with this one. It just reminded me because we talked about it in filming today. Our episode that will drop this week encompasses some ULTY and YieldMax as a whole. I'm not going to give it all away, but I think if you are a fan of the YieldMax ETFs or you're at least a little bit curious, it's going to be a really solid one for you guys. ULTY, I do own this one in my portfolio, full transparency. I like it a lot. I bought more just a couple of weeks ago because it's just been performing super well. And again, it is so cheap. YMAG has been interesting. The payments were massive, but all in all, the price return hasn't been what I wanted it to be. I needed it to go back into the $18 range to really showcase that it's a powerful fund, and it didn't get there yet. Maybe it will. AUM still very solid, 352 million, and we can also see the dividend yield of 50%, which is, I believe, accurate. I think we have seen nearly a full year of dividends, of weekly dividends from YMAG, September 2024. So not quite, but we will hopefully pretty soon. Very impressed with it in the long run. It's interesting, the YMAG versus YMAX comparison. I'm definitely a fan of both, and I do own both of them. Last couple of payments, we had almost 21 cents, 17 cents, 17 cents, and almost 16 cents. Last payment was a little bit low. I'm guessing the market just kind of was flat last week and that the implied volatility wasn't there for a lot of these. Although with the Magnificent Seven being such large stocks, they probably do not get the implied volatility that a lot of the other ones do get, which is something that's important to note. Maybe a little bit safer, but less risk, less potential reward, some might even say. I do like YMAG, but YMAX has been the better performer, so let's check it out. The YieldMax Fund of Funds. Really a big fan of YMAX. It has a similar chart to YMAG. Hasn't been doing too great lately, but a 920 million AUM. Wow. I thought ULTY may actually surpass YMAX, but no, YMAX is powering through a dividend yield of 62.5%. Same time range as YMAG. We should be seeing it hit a year of weekly payments pretty soon. Very pumped with the returns of YMAX, even though it has stalled off a little bit. If this thing ran back up to 17, I would buy it every single day of the week. Big fan, big fan. Maybe a little bit of bias there, just so you guys know. Let's check out these distributions. We had 17 cents, we had 18 cents, we had 14 cents, and 15.5 cents. YMAG has been paying out more, I will say, but overall, YMAX, I think, might be king in comparing those two. But who knows what the best performers are? Well, we will in just a minute, because let's jump into that distribution tracking spreadsheet. Let's check in and see how our account held up this week with distributions. We have YMAG paying $1.04, a little bit lower than what we have seen recently, but still very solid, and YMAX paying 92 cents. Now, I believe YMAG and YMAX are roughly $130 invested now, because I did have drip on for these when they were in the larger account. So still impressive, but remember that there's more invested in YMAG and YMAX compared to the others. LFGY, 94 cents. Very solid. Nothing to complain about. I like that it's consistently paying in the 90s. Really impressed by the distributions, I will say. Consistently higher than a lot of the other weekly payers. GPTY, 65 cents. I'm impressed with this one because the distributions are growing and drip is not on. So it's the same amount that we have invested week after week, but we are getting more money. SDTY, kind of the inverse. We are seeing it kind of drop from the 50s, 60s down into the 40s now, but 45 cents back-to-back weeks. Can't complain too much. It's still pretty high yielding. RDTY, all right, 62 cents. We've seen it bounce from 40 up to 90, kind of in the middle there. Not super impressed with RDTY. Similarly with RDTE. I'm not the biggest fan of the Russell because I thought it would do really well, and it's underperformed in my opinion, even with some of the higher distributions that we've seen. QDTY, not terrible, but not great, 47 cents. At least it's relatively consistent. CHPY, a new up-and-comer that I think could do really well, 81 cents. Very happy with this one. And last but not least, ULTY. This one holds the trophy for the second highest distribution I've ever received from a weekly dividend ETF at just $100 invested, right behind ticker PLTW by Roundhill, which again, we'll update later on in the week. So don't forget, like and subscribe if you want to see which ones are making the most money. I'm very impressed. $1.54, a little bit lower, but for the low implied volatility week and how we've seen a lot of lower payments this week, I'm still impressed. Now I'm going to slide all the way to the right and we'll see what we made this week. $7.44. Not as good as some of the weeks in the past, especially a couple weeks ago when YMAG and YMAX were paying out huge distributions, but that's all right. These things have fluctuations. It's not a negative sign. We're going to see it go up. We're going to see it go down. And $7.44 is still a pretty solid distribution for this account. I'm happy with it. And that, again, is per week, not per month. It's per week. So let's check out the overall portfolio and see what's made the most money and what's lost the most money this week. Here's our full account makeup. So we start off, we have all of them in the account. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 weekly payers now. Happy with a lot of these, I will say, but let's get to the meat of this video. We have our average cost per share and total number of shares. Remember, we had drip on for YMAG, YMAX, and ULTY. It turned off randomly, and I can't turn it back on, so we're just sitting with that amount. I will also say we're going to see our total investment at the end next to the total dividends paid out. So I slide to the right, and we can see phenomenal. Market return, total return, market return, total return, percentage-wise and dollar-wise. So I like to go off of the percentage because there's different amounts invested with drip and whatnot. So we have YMAG at a 13.61% return, YMAX at a 15.51%, LFGY is finally into the green, 0.36%, GPTY just under 9% in the green, SDTY is positive by 0.24%, RDTY absolutely phenomenal, 12.19%. And now the best performer so far since I've held them, ticker QDTE is up 24%. Now, again, this is including the distribution. So the ones that are red is just the profit and loss on our original investment. So we can see that YMAX lost 20% on our invested cash, but would be total in the green, 15.51%. with the dividends. Phenomenal for QDTY. CHPY has been rocketing. It's why it's on my watch list, up 15.5%. And ULTY, it's the reason I bought more. It is up 21.15% in second place in the account. Love to see it. We are going to keep sliding all the way over. And what we can see over here is one, our cost basis, our market value. And so cost basis is what we put in to buy these. Some are lower than others because there's no fractional shares for these ETFs. So just remember that. And then we see our dividends paid out, total dividends received. We can see crazy numbers. YieldMax has almost paid us $40. That is wild. But then ULTY has almost paid $25, and it's been trading in this account for a lot less. So some really solid stuff. YMAG 37.66, LFGY 26.5. GPTY $15, which is crazy. GPTY and LFGY came out at the same time. But again, GPTY is more in the green because the price return has been better and we've lost less in our investment. SDT, well, now we've lost nothing because everything's in the green. SDTY, $12, RDTY, a little under 10, QDTY, a little over 10, CHPY, 10.5, and then ULTY, 24.45. Absolutely super impressed with this portfolio. So I hope you guys do enjoy. Again, a lot of resources are available on spencerinvest.com for you guys. These spreadsheets are going to be available for purchase sometime soon, hopefully very, very soon. If I can get all this back-end work done for you guys, which I'm trying, I promise. It's just been so fun tracking these, and I really hope you guys enjoy. If you did enjoy, don't forget to like and subscribe and check out these videos popping up on your screen right now because I guarantee you're going to want to see how things are doing in the stock market. And don't forget to check out the podcast with Marcos Mia called The ETF Guys. I'll link it in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Hope to see you in the next video.